that feedback should not be compromised. Understand that the 100% effort is not the educators, the 100% effort is not also going to come from your end. It is going to be a collaborative process. Hi everyone, this is Devshri. Today in this video, I'm going to talk about answer writing for UPSC CSC with all of you. We will not be discussing about how to write answers, when to write answers, the tips and the strategies. Let me save it for another video. Let us prioritize talking about the evaluation aspect of answer writing today. Many of you have reached out to me in the past asking whether the evaluations done for your answers are good or not. And that brings a question to my mind that this is something which all the UPSC aspirants are experiencing. Means answer writing is something which is extremely subjective at both sides. One, for you as an aspirant who's preparing and writing, and many a times you will also see the same thing at the evaluator's end. Now, what exactly are the right ways for you to understand whether the evaluation done is right or not so right? Because definitely we all can come and tell how we are thinking, how we are working on it, but what is in the best interest of an aspirant? Let me just bring it, a very simple thought here for all of you. I believe that UPSC aspirants, there might be of course rare exceptions wherein the student really needs, hand holding and making them walk every single step in the guidance of an educator. But I do believe that most of the students who prepare for UPSC CSC have done some degree of SWOT analysis wherein they know what their strengths and what their weaknesses are, and have the ability that they will be able to adapt if they are given the right guidance or the right feedback for no matter what phase we speak about here for the exam. If you are given the right guidance and you are given the right feedback, I do believe that all of you have the potential of improving. All right, let's say if not all, majority of you have the potential of improving. And that's where the main question arises. The right guidance, the right feedback. If you get it, then you can improve. Now, here when you guys bring in this perspective to me that it is not evaluated well and what can you do to improve, you are simply highlighting that when you started and where you are experiencing that you are at the same place. There is no improvement, even though every evaluator is repeatedly telling you you can improve. It is a little sad that is the only thing you are told in majority of the places. I'm not talking about my optional, I'm talking about the exam. So please remember that this is something which happens for GS as well. This happens for all the optional subjects as well. And definitely it happens in my subject psychology as well. So what is the right way? I decided the right way is when I have helped one student understand and then I moved on to tell about 2, 3, 4 students, that this is how it has to be done. Let me just bring it to all of you and tell you how the evaluation is done the right way, at least in the sense wherein you can try to give the best possible feedback to the students so that they can really improve. Just giving them basic idea that you can improve, write XYZ is not going to help. It is a task which requires a lot of effort. Now, how I'm going to work about it? Let me give you a brief. I'm going to show you 2 questions of one of my old students. I will show you one question which was written in the beginning and I'll show you another question which was written towards the end of the program. You guys can also, pause the video, read the answer of the student, and then after that you can play the video to see the discussion of my feedback. I am here simply telling you that answer writing is a very complex, element of CSE exam. Here we have a lot of factors, sub-factors which can influence your answers and of course the feedback or the scores associated to it. And just for the convenience today, I am saying that we have 2 major components. We have a lot of factors and sub-factors which will definitely fall under these 2 headers. Today we will not refer to presentation. Let us just stick to content and let me show you how the evaluation is done the right way. What is the intent? If you know how the evaluation is done the right way, at least you can compare the evaluated copies you are getting. You can, hold your evaluators accountable. You can ask them for better evaluation because you are paying them money. And, other than that, you will be able to judge the right value of your time, your effort, and your or your parents' hard-earned money. If this is something you feel is needed or might be helpful for you, then only please watch the full video. If it is not, you can drop it, you can go. The only reason I'm making it is to help you all. Watch it till the end so that you understand what I'm telling without misinterpreting any element from the video. Now let's move on and let me help you understand the main aspects. This was a student from 2021. I am going to show you the complete answer. You can pause and read, and then you can resume the video to understand how I think and how I give the feedback. All right. This was a 15 marker, and that's where it gets over. Now, I hope all of you have read the answer. Let me just very quickly give you a brief. Here the introduction, if you have read, I do believe that definitely better paraphrasing can be done. The sentence structure can be modified, and I have told that instead of just writing creative thinking and divergent thinking, the student could have mentioned that these concepts are given by Guilford, that just one simple fact when you add, the chances of you scoring more increases. Moving on to the student has discussed about the differences. Also, when you read the answer, you will feel that a lot of things are done just right. He has written a decent answer, but that is what the difference is. If I simply write very nice, very good, you can improve, and I close the chapter there is no improvement which is going to take place. So I have to put in effort as an evaluator to tell where all it is going wrong, so that the student can really improve and increase their chances of scoring more marks in the mains examination. Moving on, the comparison part is actually decent. He has given one example which definitely you guys can change, and the way it is presented can also be changed, but right now I'm trying to avoid getting into the presentation aspect of it. Let's just focus on the content part. Here the student has given a keyword, hallmark of creative thinking. It's a very nice way of putting it. Definitely all of you will always have to ensure that you focus on the keywords for any subject you are studying and you're writing the exam. Does not matter that it has to be specific to my subject psychology. No, it is polity, geography, sociology, whatever subject you are writing answers for, you have to bring in the terminology. Here the student is writing, it is not associated with creativity, but when I teach you, I tell you that creativity includes both divergent and convergent thinking. Divergent is definitely the hallmark of it, but you do need convergent thinking to narrow down to one solution which you are going to work on, or one idea which you are going to work on and implement. And that is why we can say that yes, it is associated in the last phase of creativity, instead of simply saying not at all associated. And you can add examples for that as well. Instead of just giving one example here, you can give more small 1 or 2 words examples at multiple places. That again will increase the chances of you scoring more marks. Presentation some other time. Now here the student has given some sort of a conclusion on the convergent and divergent thinking, which is nice. And here I have told the student that you could have also mentioned the components given by Guilford. Do you have to elaborate it here? No, it is not needed, but it can be briefly mentioned, and we can highlight in one sentence that how this particular aspect holds a lot of importance. So this is one thing. Moving on to the next part, which is the fostering divergent thinking in children. If you have read, you will understand that the student has given quite a few points. The sheet is filled very neatly. It's all good. It's all good. It is all good till you sit to evaluate it properly. Reason for that is that when I talk about fostering divergent thinking, there are so many points which come to my mind. This is something like any average person is going to write. Reason being, today if I go to any parent who's raising a child and I ask that what exactly do you do to enhance creativity for your children, they are going to tell me the same thing. We are enrolling them in the creativity classes, we are doing XYZ things for them, we show them these kind of art and craft classes or videos, and this is how we are trying to enhance it. Okay, fine, that is something everybody is doing. Parents are motivating, kar lo beta, kar lo, ho jayega, are wow, this is so nice. But don't you think as a psychology student you have to put in a little more effort here? इसके तो नंबर नहीं मिलेंगे, सिर्फ इतना लिख के तो नंबर नहीं मिलेंगे. Now what we have to do, we have to first of all ensure the student has given 4 to 5 points. Now what I want all of you to understand, that increase the number of points with quality of points. Just a number of points is not going to fetch you marks. Poor quality is not going to fetch your marks. So increasing the number but ensuring the quality is definitely going to fetch your marks. So how do we do that? You can use the same points, you can add more points, but you will have to restructure the sentences. This is good. but here this much is not needed. Instead of telling this part here, what you can do is you can give 7-8 points and tell that, with this activity fluency can be, targeted. With this one we can enhance the flexibility. With this we can, enhance the originality. With this we can explain the student and make them apply XYZ phenomena. Now this is the right way of presenting it. Here please do not get stuck with the fact कि ये टॉरेंस ने दिया है या मैंने बोला है गिलफर्ड ने दिया है. The thing is गिलफर्ड ने कोर कॉन्सेप्ट दिया है, टॉरेंस ने क्रिएटिविटी के टेस्ट बनाए हैं जिसमें ये भी सारे फैक्टर्स यूज हुए हैं, उसके अलावा 2 और यूज हुए हैं. तो जस्ट टू फाइंड फॉल्स डोंट सिट देयर. You will write Torrance, you will get marks. You will write Guilford, you will get marks. If you have read psychology really well, you will know all of these things. If you have not read it, then only you will get stuck with these minor details. But now coming to the other aspect, I'm telling the student that just explaining the usage of various items in different dimensions is not enough. Explain कर दिया मैंने तुमको और हो गया तो नहीं चलेगा. Rather, what can we do? We have to engage the child. So I have told, first of all, change the way. One, just explaining is not the way. You have to bring in some degree of activity. And second, you should be presenting it in a more compact way. Why more compact? Bring in more psychological concepts so that it is compact, the sentence is compact, and high accuracy of your content is visible to the examiner. So maybe you can choose to write that activities requiring multiple unique uses, right? Why we should be practicing these things more? To break functional fixedness, because that is how you are going to enhance creativity of a child. Moving on, here I want you to see, I have given that, I've already explained this part, that how you can increase fluency, flexibility, originality. This is something you should have kept as the focus point for this answer. Now it talks about reinforcement. Reinforcement is a good point, but we can add more examples to it by keeping the sentence compact. Motivating is a very common point, not a bad point, but it's a very common point. So you have to bring in something else to add to it. Good examples, that is something which is missing, right? Or you can connect it with another aspect like motivation to emotion, and then connecting it to the creative aspect of it. That interconnection is something which is missing. So I've also told the student that you can add the importance of various stakeholders. Now this is an average thing. I've given 4 points, 5 points, so yeah. But think about it, if I just simply tell that how a parent can play a role, how a teacher can play a role, and we all know that our peers are also playing a very, very important role. तो वो चीज़ हम डाल सकते हैं ना. आप अलग अलग हेडिंग्स बना के डाल सकते हो, आप एक साथ डाल सकते हो, आप पॉइंट्स क्लब कर सकते हो. द कॉग्निटिव एस्पेक्ट is something which can be taken care by the parents and the teachers. Modeling is something which children are learning from their peers. So when you bring in more keywords, you are increasing your own chances of scoring more marks. Here I have told that you can definitely add a lot more points. Why? Because the student has given only 4 to 5 points. When you are writing a 15 marker, definitely, right, you can try here. This is one half question, so you can try to give 7 to 8 points minimum here, and those points should have good quality points. You can definitely add the name of the researcher depending on which one you are referring to, right? And see, this is a question where not a lot of researchers are needed. This is the one which requires a lot of strategies. So strategies which we used to discuss in class, like Spanish story, helps in divergent thinking. If you talk about painted different, वही माई स्काई इज पिंक, राइट? तो आप अलग अलग कलर्स कर रहे हो चीज़ों को. यू आर नॉट फोर्सिंग द चाइल्ड टू जस्ट सी द स्काई इज ब्लू, और दैट्स वेरी सिंपल थिंग. अगर इतना ही कर देंगे हम लोग तो बच्चे को क्लैरिटी मिल जाएगा. ठीक है, ही कैन थिंक थोड़ा हटके, आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स सोचना अलाउड है. तो वो चीज़ें यहाँ पर ऐड करोगे, जब अलग अलग एग्जाम्पल्स डालोगे, टेक्निक्स डालोगे, तभी तो दिखाई देगा. बेसिक पॉइंट्स तो सभी लिखेंगे, दिखना चाहिए ना. साइकोलॉजी ऑप्शनल का बच्चा है, पढ़ के आया है. एंड फॉर दैट मैटर ऑफ कोर्स, बिकॉज जस्ट बिकॉज आई एम डिस्कसिंग साइकोलॉजी क्वेश्चन डजंट मीन इट विल नॉट बी अप्लाइड टू अदर प्लेसेस. Any optional or GS, when you are writing it, no, it should simply show the examiner that you know what you are speaking about, and you're not some ordinary person speaking. You have very good understanding of the concept and command over the concept, plus you have the ability to express it very well. These are the things which really, really matter. I've told the student that add more points on fostering creativity, can definitely do better. Refer NCRT, because NCRT itself has so many points right on that, and I've discussed in class. So for the student, you should have worked. And refer the audio. I have a tendency of sending audios when I feel there is too much which can be improved. So not just the written feedback, I send audio so that the student can understand and make the right changes. Audio was also needed for that time because this was just the initial phase of the writing program. This is just question number 13. So we were working on a lot of elements in terms of presentation, in terms of sentence restructuring and all of it. Now I am taking you to another question which is written by the same student, This is question number 127. So you can see this is towards the end of the program. And this question is from therapies unit. This is a question wherein we are asking that how are indigenous therapies an alternative to classical and site therapies? Discuss. It's a 10 marker. I'm again going to show it to all of you. You can pause and read, and after that I will discuss the feedback. Let's go. Alright, I hope all of you are done reading it. Now, let's just look at it. This is a wonderful question, and I see most of the students will not be able to attempt it or will not be able to attempt it well. And in that sense, if I see the student has made a very good attempt. Please remember, we have come from 13th question to 127th question. Here I want to briefly tell you that introduction was decent. I have asked you can mention about CBT or any cognitive therapies. You can give a one-liner definition for alternate therapies. It is not a mandatory thing, but it is a possibility. So you should be told that what can be a possible scenario wherever it looks like that we can fit in, and other than that, whatever needs to be improved. This was really a wonderful answer written by the student. A lot of students are not able to write this much for this question, so that is why I am appreciating that fact and still telling you that even when he has done such a good job, I still have so much to tell. That is how the evaluation has to be. Now here you can see I have told that the conclusion points can actually be discussed earlier as well. It's not that you have to keep it only for the end, because the point has some merit but should be discussed in the body part itself. And then you should add that where all indigenous therapies can be useful or helpful for people. Here if you look at it, I have also guided that you can specifically mention some yoga asanas and meditative techniques. Why I'm saying that? Because here the student has given example of yoga and meditation, that it isn't used since Vedic times. But how difficult is it for us to give a couple of yoga asanas and meditation? One reason, because somewhere we are trying to compare it with the classical and site therapies. The typical psychological therapies are more scientific in nature, and these are used for some specific problems. Let me just give you one example: interpersonal relationships or problems you are experiencing. But yoga and meditation are not directly going to impact your interpersonal relationship. But what psychological aspects can yoga and meditation help you with? We should mention that. We can try. I teach you in the classes. I've told you what kind of yoga asanas are helpful for what kind of psychological problems. So we can give one or two asanas. We can mention one or two meditative techniques with their benefits, and that is what I'm telling, that in the comparison you can also tell that how exactly the indigenous therapies, right, are more useful in the physical difficulties people experience, bodily problems or physical problems, and very less for the psychological ones. Only mild psychological problems can be handled by indigenous therapies and not the typical psychological difficulties. And when you talk about classical insight, the student has given very nice points, and here I am adding that whenever we're talking about the classical insight therapies or the typical psychological therapies, because the question keywords will change but the core concept will remain the same. So how it is dependent on the thought process, cognitive changes and acceptance, you should add that part. No, that is what is making it classical insight therapy ना. इंसाइट का रोल ही क्या है? वही है ना कि क्लाइंट खुद से अपनी इंसाइट्स भी लेकर आ रहा है, क्लाइंट के ऊपर भी हम ज़्यादा बड़ा रोल डाल रहे हैं. इट इज़ नॉट जस्ट द काउंसलर हु इज डूइंग all the mental work or the cognitive work. Some degree of cognitive load is shared by the client, and that is what makes the point more valuable. So you have to add those points. When you do these small changes, your answers become better. Now here again the student has given really nice points that we can use it to decrease anxiety. He has given researches. One more thing, I always tell you in classes that whenever you are citing a research, along with that you should write the year. Just because the student has not written it here, do not think that you don't have to write it. With every student there is a different dynamic which works. The student was finding it difficult to learn the years in the beginning, so I have allowed the student to remember just the name of the researcher for the beginning, and gradually with revisions the student can learn the name plus the year and then start writing the year. And that is a very normal method of doing it, because you will not be able to remember every single thing in one go. So content wise he is not compromising in this answer. He has done very good job. The only year aspect you should not get stuck with, because you can always learn it as and when you are revising more and more. These were all brilliant points, but these can be restructured, and the sentences can be a little shorter with more psychological terminology or verbiage. And moving on to this part, you can read it all. He has given decent conclusion, but I have to tell him his answer is good, but you can add more points like daily issues or interpersonal problems people experience on day-to-day basis, and you can add examples for that. you are using yoga and meditation in your life on day-to-day basis for very small problems. Maybe you're not able to sleep, maybe you're experiencing some difficulty with digestion, very small things. You're using it, it is part of your day-to-day life. But are you going to a counselor for everything on day-to-day basis? You are not, you will not, because unless you know that it is very difficult for you to deal with it and there is some severe problem, you are not going to go to a counselor. So it's not a day-to-day thing, right? All these can be very good difference points, very simple, but again very appropriate ones to talk about. I have asked the student to, in conclusion, you should add that, see, to an extent, the indigenous, okay, sorry, you can read it here, that the indigenous therapies can complement the psychological therapies, but they are subjective in nature, might not work for every sort of psychological problem, and that is the reason they are not the complete alternative, right? Just because we use a layman term alternative does not make them a complete alternative or replacement. They still have a complementary nature to the psychological therapies, because these are based on certain evidences. I hope all of you have got some idea which makes you understand that how important it is to structure your answers properly. And of course, all the other elements I will teach you in the upcoming videos. If you have noticed the difference from answer number 13th for what the student has written to answer number 127 again to what the student has written, that should itself tell you that how significant improvement the student has made in the program. Other than that, I want you to also see that this feedback, on day-to-day basis helps the student improve on all the answers they are writing. It is not that just with the initial 20 days questions everything has changed, रातों रात सारा फीडबैक बदल गया, ऐसा नहीं. I mean, फीडबैक से आंसर्स बदल गए, ऐसा नहीं होता है. It is a process, it takes time, but for that process to work effectively, feedback on day-to-day basis in the right way is very much important. Now, I have taken one small initiative. I have asked few students to write few questions on memory, and they have submitted their answers already. I will be evaluating their answers, and I will share the video for that also with all of you. This was an old student. I wanted to show you that how I have been doing the evaluation. I will show you for live evaluation as well. And I am announcing some initiatives on this weekend, and I would like all of you to be part of the channel. I want you to subscribe to the channel so that you can also understand what all initiatives I'm bringing and whether these are helpful for you or not. Because if these initiatives are helpful for you even by 1%, I would definitely like you to take the benefit of it. More than that, if I talk about today's video, the complete idea was simply to bring in this understanding to you that feedback should not be compromised. Because when the feedback is compromised, your chances of qualifying in the exam are compromised. Please understand that the 100% effort is not the educators. The 100% effort is not also going to come from your end. It is going to be a collaborative process wherein the educators are supposed to contribute significantly to your growth, and you definitely have to hold on to the guidance they are giving you and then extend it to all the dimensions of your exam and prove that you are going to take the most benefit of that guidance by implementing every single feedback which is given to you and making it your reality, that you go through the exam in a very smooth way. When you know and you have this much confidence in itself, you will see a lot of your anxiety is going to come down, and the only place where you are going to put in effort is just to revise more and practice more. And that is something which you guys need more than anything else to qualify in this exam. I'm wishing you all the best, and I do want to know if there is anything else wherein I can help you with. If this video was helpful to all of you, do share it with others. And that is it. I think, yeah, that is it. Thank you so much. I'll see you all soon in the next video.